Hey guys, this is Frozen Dating Studios here, and welcome back to another video. And today, I am going to be doing a ranking video of a fan favorite, beloved director with a movie that has just came out recently. And yes, if you saw the title, you already know it's Christopher Nolan. Yeah, Christopher Nolan is one of the greatest directors of all time. This guy is the king of storytelling, the king of complex stories with ideas that will just blow people's minds. And this guy can't do no wrong. Every single movies he made are always a hit. Unlike Spielberg, where Spielberg, yeah, maybe the more iconic director, but some he's made some major misses like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and the BFG. They both suck. And also the Lost World Jurassic Park, which I don't really like, which I am not a fan of. But I wouldn't say it's bad, unlike those two movies I just mentioned. But yeah, Christopher Nolan is in my top three directors. I'm not sure who I would prefer, Nolan or Christopher Nolan and James Cameron. That's kind of a debate, but I think James Cameron made the better. James Cameron's best movie is better than this one, than the best Nolan movie. I will say that, but yeah, I'm here today to just talk about Nolan's filmography, and yeah, so yeah, there's like about 12 films. I have seen every single Nolan film, and if there's a Nolan film you haven't seen yet, I highly recommend them. So without further ado, if you want to know my ranking of all Christopher Nolan movies, then just keep watching. At number 12, the weakest Christopher Nolan movie, Following. Yeah, a lot of people agree with me that this is his weakest film. I know some would say Tenet or Dark Knight Rises is his weakest film, but to me personally, I think Following is his weakest, and it's a little bit sad because this is pretty much Nolan's first movie that he's ever made, and first movie, and so Nolan was just in his experimental phase, trying to impress filmmakers by making a small budget indie film. And I guess the fact that this is a small budget indie film is probably why this is the last place. This is the one Nolan movie I don't love. I don't think it's like amazing or anything. It is really great. It is a great movie and like 50% underrated, I will say. I will say, yeah. I mean, I love that. I gotta give this movie some respect for just being a simple indie experimental film that pretty much showcases Nolan's talents. Like he just wants to show off film, like the bigger industry that you can actually make a really good film like this. Good film, and I will say the story in this movie is really good. It's original, it's clever, it's brilliant. It has a lot of creativity, and I love. And Nolan's filmmaking is so impressive. It's so impressive, and although I feel like the one thing that missed the mark on this one is the characters, and that's kind of a huge flaw because I am a character guy. Characters are my favorite aspect of film, and sometimes good characters can make me a little not connect with the movie. Yeah, because all the characters here are forgettable, and I don't even remember remotely even remember their names. Their names. But at least the story is able to hold the movie as strong as it is, and I like that it only has 70 minutes. Like it's just very quick. It doesn't need to be too long yet. Yeah, Nolan pretty much evolves more when he evolves when it comes to his movies, and he makes longer movies make later on because he just wants to evolve with like a little shorter movies and then longer movies. So yeah. At number 11, Insomnia. Insomnia is a great underrated gem, and as just like Following, I know Insomnia is not one of the fan favorite Christopher Nolan movies, but I like this movie. I will say that this felt like a Christopher Nolan movie the least. Like this felt like the least Nolan out of all Nolan movies. Like sometimes I kind of feel like this is just a regular cat versus mouse detective cat and mouse detective story, and filmmaking wise, this is Nolan's least impressive work, but it's still very impressive either way. Either way, yeah, even though it's the least impressive, Nolan still does a good job proving that he can do no wrong. The cop storyline, one of the probably the least interesting Nolan movie, the my least favorite script from Nolan, to be honest, but it's still a really top-notch script, top-notch script, and yeah, I love the detective story, and this is coming from someone who's a massive fan of the genre of detective. But I think one thing that makes it stand out from following is that this movie actually has good characters. You got great characters like Al Pacino, Hilary Swank, Martin Donovan, such great actors. But Robin Williams as the villain definitely the standout, and I think he might be one of the best villains in a Christopher Nolan movie. He really carried it in this one right here. So yeah, but I do recommend checking this movie out once. It's not very watchable. It does have its slow moments, but yeah, it's still like worth a watch. At number 10, Memento. Yeah, the first of Nolan's thing that he would do every 10 years, like 2000, 2010, and then 2020, where he would make these crazy overly complex stories that would pretty much just blow the minds of everyone else, being like, whoa, I don't understand this, it's confusing. But because Nolan is a genius, yeah. Memento is the first of these movies, and then you got 2010 with Inception and 2020 with Tenet. Yeah, Memento it is the weakest of the three movies, but I love this movie. In fact, this is we're already getting into the 10 out of 10 Nolan movies. All 10 movies I gave a flawless a 10 out of 10. Yeah. Memento is one of the most interesting concepts for a story that I've seen, and one of the better written Nolan films. And the characters here are really good. This was pretty much the first Nolan movie that feels like a full length of feature film, unlike last ones where it's just more of an indie film, like experimental film. This one feels like more of a real film, and it's also the first Nolan movie to feature an A-list cast. And in this one in particular, you got Guy Pearce, who is not a good actor, but this is one of his only truly great roles. Yeah, way better than Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3. And Carrie Ann Moss at Trinity from the Matrix franchise. And you got so much, just great characters, great stories. It really gets you guessing throughout what the mystery is, and the story is very complex, but that's just what you expect from Nolan film. Now the reason why this movie is slow is because it's one of the slower paced Nolan movies, so it's not really a movie that I decided to go back to. It is very slow paced, and I think these my movies I just simply love more, and it's just hard for me to put Memento above these films because they're just too good. Yeah. But yeah, if you haven't seen Memento yet, at least check it out. It's in my top 5 favorite movies of 2000. At number 9, oh boy, this is gonna be a controversial placement, but Batman Begins, yeah. This is controversial mainly for the fact that I put this movie so low. I've heard a lot of people say that this is a top 3 or top 5 Nolan movies. This is one of the best Nolan movies, and I know a subscriber of mine, Jay Bakers, considers this as his favorite Christopher Nolan movie, in general, Jay Bakers. Yeah, he even says this is his favorite superhero movie of all time. And I can understand if you think that this is the best, that this is the best in the Dark Knight trilogy. Some are already saying that, but in my opinion, yeah. This is the weakest in the Dark Knight trilogy, mainly because of its slow pace and because of its just the slow pace and just the rewatchability factor. It's not really a movie that I rewatch over and over again. But Batman Begins is just is just like magnificent. Yeah, this is certainly right up there with Joker and the first top Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie as some of the greatest superhero origin stories ever made. Period. And I love that this movie is to me personally, this is Christopher Nolan's darkest movie. As you know, he tries to encapsulate the theme of fear and and his movie feels like a horror movie at times, especially with Killian Murphy as Scarecrow. Yes, Scarecrow in this movie is terrifying, and his movies, even though he's to me the weakest, he's in my opinion the weakest. Yeah, the weakest villain in the Dark Knight trilogy. I still love how he is, and this feels like a horror movie. Yeah, and the origin story is just well told. One of the better written films in the franchise. Ra's al Ghul is such an excellent villain, and my personal favorite, Liam Neeson role. Sorry, Schindler's List, and Katie Holmes. I will admit that Katie Holmes is a better Rachel than Maggie Gyllenhaal in The Dark Knight. So yeah. At number eight, Dunkirk. Yeah, Dunkirk is sort of my favorite war movie, but it goes back and forth between this and 1917. But just because I'm more of a Christopher Nolan fan and a Sam Mendes fan, I'm probably gonna give the slight edge to this one as my favorite Nolan movie. I think this is one of Christopher Nolan's more underrated movies. As a lot of people would put this as a bottom tier Nolan movie, and with some even calling it the worst Nolan movie. Yes, it is lower in my list, but people don't recognize this as a masterpiece, and they will say, "Oh, it's too slow. It's just like there's no character development. It's just and it feels uneventful." Yada yada yada. Like I feel like people just don't get this movie. I think this movie is completely misunderstood. This what makes this movie really good is that you get to follow the characters around. Yeah, I mean, I love how Christopher Nolan just tackles World War Two by just almost feeling like a one shot take, just like 1917. It takes place in one event. The only difference is that it's not a one shot take. It's not a one shot take, and this is one of the most creative Christopher Nolan movies. As you're pretty much following these characters around as they fight off the Nazis, and just and we just follow the simple characters as they just survive World War Two, and it does a great job of capturing the horrors of the war and the characters are really good. Really good. I mean, pretty much the best cast ensemble for any war movie. Fionn Whitehead, Tom Hardy, Mark Rylance, Kenneth Branagh, Cillian Murphy, Barry Keoghan, Harry Styles. Which I personally am a defender of Harry Styles. Yeah, he had so much just great cast all around, and it's just full of action, full of just non-stop war action. Yes, it is short, but it didn't need to be long. And to all the people say that this movie doesn't have character development as a criticism, I may be a character person, but who needs character development for this one as it's World War, it's World Wars, yeah. At number seven, The Prestige. Yeah, another fan favorite Nolan movie where some would say goes for calling this his best film, and some I see this up here in his top three. So this is quite controversial for me to put this The Prestige a little lower in the list, but I adore The Prestige. At least it'll make my top 100 favorite movies of 2002, the favorite movies of all time list. And this is now officially my second favorite movie in 2006. Second only to Casino Royale. One of these days, this may be my favorite movie 2006, but I'll have to rewatch this because I haven't really rewatched this in a while. Yeah. Fun fact, guys, The Prestige is the one Christopher Nolan movie to be made by Disney. Technically, Buena Vista Pictures, to be specific, as that is a Disney-owned company. So yeah. So yeah, Christopher Nolan should try to make more Disney movies in the future. Movies in the future. So yeah, what I love about this one is just its originality. Yeah. This is one of the most creative and unique Christopher Nolan movies I've ever seen, and yeah, and this movie has some of such heavy messages that talking about obsession, jealousy, and how some dangerous some actions that you do can be very dangerous, and yeah, and I absolutely love the casting here. Christian Bale, who is known as Batman. You even got Hugh Jackman here, and Scarlett Johansson, who is one of my favorite characters in a Nolan movie. Yeah, this movie has just one of the best. It is one of the best written Nolan movies, and the ending twist of this movie will really get your jaw dropping. Yeah, oh my god, yeah, it's so good. I understand this is your favorite Nolan movie and why this is a fan favorite. It's just really hard for this to top the top six yet. That's why seven is pretty much the best spot for this one. At number six, Tenet. Yeah, one of Christopher Nolan's most underrated movies. I don't think it's his most underrated. You'll see later what his true most underrated movie is, but Tenet is certainly an underrated gem. I don't get why people say that this is the worst Nolan movie. And to all the people who complain about this movie being confusing, I mean, have you learned nothing from Inception? Inception is like mentally confusing, and it tells you that Nolan wants his movies to be confusing because he wants the audiences to pay attention. But then you got other critics like, oh, but there's no character development, so like I don't care about the characters are forgettable. The movie is nothing special. It's not that impressive of filmmaking wise, and the sound is too loud. You can't hear the dialogue. The last criticism I mentioned, I kind of understand where people are coming from with that one. But I don't think that's the case, because I was able to hear the dialogue personally, so I don't know, that's just on me. That's just on me. Yeah, and the characters are like well developed. I actually care about them. John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, Kenneth Branagh, who is one of the best villains in the Nolan movie. I mean, there's like so much great ones. Aaron Taylor Johnson is in this one too. I mean, there's like just so much, just great characters, and the action scenes and the score, just elite level. Yeah, they're just so good, and even the practical effects. Yeah, this Nolan is known for making practical effects because he hates CGI, and that's good that he doesn't want CGI in his movies. Like he doesn't like, yeah. He still pulls off some of the greatest practical effects you'll ever see, which is one reason as to why I adore Nolan. So yeah, hopefully people should give us a chance. Maybe they'll realize that that's actually good. At number five, the latest Christopher Nolan movie, Oppenheimer. Yeah, so if you're wondering why I'm doing my Christopher Nolan movies ranking just now and not later on, earlier on when this movie came out. I actually forgot to mention to you guys that I just saw Oppenheimer for a second time today, and that's pretty much the reason as to why I decided to do this right now, so that I can pretty much see where Oppenheimer really lands. Because I was not really sure of the where I would put this in my Nolan movies ranking list. And after rewatch, I actually think that I actually think that my opinion is still the same. This was my fifth favorite Nolan movie after I saw it in theaters, and it still didn't change on second viewing. Yeah. I mean, this pretty much had all the materials it needs to be the best Christopher Nolan movie. This is said to be Nolan's biggest movie, as it is his longest and has the biggest cast. I can see that. I can see that there. And Nolan is able to craft pretty much the biggest biopic you'll ever see. the most ambitious biopic you'll ever see, and yeah, I can see why people are calling this the best movie of the year. But to me personally, I don't think it is. When you got films like Spider Verse, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Elemental, Guardians 3, there's better movies than this in my opinion. But yeah, but yeah, Oppenheimer is just impressive mainly because of how the story is told. It's just well written. It really captures the horrors of humanity, the fear of humanity of today's society, and this is a very political movie. It's not just about developing a bomb, but it tackles Oppenheimer's life so well. Cillian Murphy gives his best performance in his entire career. The score is excellent. The visual effects, one of the most visually stunning Christopher Nolan movie, Christopher Nolan movie, and yeah, I just love and I just love most of the characters, particularly Florence Pugh Jean, who is my favorite character in a Nolan movie, in my personal opinion. So yeah, I love this movie. I think it is so worth all the hype, and I can see why Nolan lovers are loving this one. So yeah. At number four, The Dark Knight. Yeah, I know. Another unpopular opinion for me not putting this at number one. And I still haven't even mentioned a certain installment in this trilogy yet, which you already know that there's a major controversy coming. But yeah, The Dark Knight is number four in best to me. Now this is certainly one of the most groundbreaking superhero movies ever made. Period. As it pretty much tackles real world issues of society and the chaos around it, and the chaos around it. It feels. I love how it doesn't feel like a typical superhero movie, but rather it feels like a riveting crime drama. Like you're literally watching this and forgetting that it's a superhero movie, and just viewing this as a riveting crime drama, just with Batman and of course Heath Ledger Joker, who I think gives the best performance in a Nolan movie. No competition. Rest in peace to him. The action scenes are really good. The atmosphere of it, the way that Nolan films it, all the tension, and even the score. I mean, just wow, yeah. I just love how impressive this is, and this does deserve the praise of being considered as the best Nolan movie, and some even saying it's the best superhero movie in general. Now, the reason why this isn't really like on the top three is because this isn't really a movie that is personal to me. It doesn't really make as much impact on me as the other three movies on this list. It's just more of a well-made Nolan movie. Yeah, a very well-made Christopher Nolan movie. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, don't much anything else to say. So yeah. At number three, Inception. Now, I was debating if this was the number two or number three on the list, but I ended up putting it at number three because there's like two films that made pretty much a bigger impact on me. But number two and three can switch. But yeah, I ended up with Inception on number three, as this movie is may not be as good as the other two, but man, this movie just so good. I don't understand why people call this movie overrated. Yes, it is confusing, but at least unlike Tenet, at least people are still able to understand that why Nolan made this movie confusing. But unlike Tenet, where it will just end up being a criticism for no reason, even if we learned about how Nolan tells his stories with something like this, and you can clearly see how clearly see how Nolan just wait, how do I say this? You can clearly see just Nolan just giving up such an impressive story. In fact, this might be my favorite plot, my favorite storyline in a Nolan movie. My favorite plot. Yeah, I mean, I just like the more you rewatch this movie, the more you understand it, and I think this is one of the most rewatchable Christopher Nolan movies. And you got the huge cast like Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ken Watanabe, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, and Marion Cotillard, and my personal favorite, Elliot Page, formerly called Ellen Page in this one. Yeah, Ariana is is still my favorite character in this one. And yeah, the action scenes that just so tension filled. It really like gives you so much chills and leaves you on the edge of your seat. And my God, the score of Hans Zimmer. Yeah, who agrees with me that this should have won the best original score instead of the Social Network? Yeah, I think this has the better score to me. Even though Social Network score is excellent, like the fact that this lost the best original score is such a crime because it is one of the greatest scores ever put to film. Period. Yeah. So yeah. And also this is one of the most visually stunning Nolan movies. Again, now with the practical effects, and it gets you to wonder how did he do that. Like remember the scene in Spider-Man 2 where Peter Parker flips from his motorcycle to a taxi, and then this kid was like, "How do you do that?" Yeah, that's pretty much what I'd say to Nolan whenever I see his practical effects. Yeah, it's that good. At number two, Interstellar. Yeah, both Interstellar and Inception is pretty much my debate when it comes to this ranking. Which one do I think is better, Inception or Interstellar? Inception has the better storyline and all stuff, but I think I think Interstellar wins for me mainly because this movie is a little more impactful. Yes, it is long and slow paced. It was previously the longest Nolan movie until Oppenheimer took the title, and man, yeah, seeing this movie for the first time felt like a true experience. Like it feels like I was experiencing like a new chapter of my life. The first time I saw this movie, I fell in love with it like immediately. This was actually the movie that made me a true Nolan fanboy, saying that I think Nolan might be the best director ever. Even if I do think Chris Buck is still the best director, yeah, in my opinion. But yeah, Nolan is just so impressive. And what I love about Interstellar is that this movie moves you. Like I don't remember a single Christopher Nolan movie that moved me like as much as this one. Well, besides the number one movie, but this one just truly moved me. This is the best film, the Nolan movie, in my opinion. Yeah, the best filmmaking, the best, the most gorgeous cinematography, the most gorgeous practical effects, some of the most gorgeous space effects you'll ever see. In fact, this is the best space movie ever made. Yeah, this movie is better than any of the Star Wars movie, and even better than 2001: Space Odyssey, the movie that Christopher Nolan took inspiration from to make this one. And yeah, and this movie really tackles such deep and personal messages about family and sacrifice. That you must save that it's important to choose to save all more lives than just your own close ones. That like sometimes you don't have to like just keep everything one like there must always be a sacrifice in your life. I love that message. And I love the twist about the Matt Damon's character being a villain, even though it's the weakest part of the film. Yeah, it's still really good. And my goodness, the score in this movie, this and Lion King are neck and neck as the best Hans Zimmer score, in my opinion. Like the score in this movie is one of the greatest scores ever put the film up. Period. Yeah. I don't remember exactly if this won the best original score or not at the Oscars. I don't exactly remember. But if this movie didn't win the best original score, then what are we thinking Oscar stuff? Like this movie not winning best original score is a crime because I hear some people say that this movie has the best score ever put to film, and yeah, it is right up there, like top 3 best scores, like top 5 maybe. It's that good, and the score really encapsulates the emotion of the really just captures the emotion of the film, the heart of the film. Yeah, this is the most heartwarming Christopher Nolan movie, and and I love all the characters. Like this movie has some of the best character development in the Nolan movie, especially with Matthew McConaughey's Cooper, who is far better than Buster Moon. and Anne Hathaway as well, and Anne Hathaway and Jessica Chastain slash Mackenzie Boy playing as um, who's that? Playing as the daughter. Like how Murphy, yeah, Murphy, yeah. Murphy, and I love both of them. Yeah, both gave the best performance of the movie. Jessica Chastain gives her career's best performance and an Oscar-worthy performance for Best Supporting Actress. Yeah, this is to me Jessica Chastain. I view this as Jessica Chastain's signature role, but Mackenzie Foy is probably my the better Murphy of the two to me. So she just gave a more powerful and gripping performance, and I think that might have been the greatest child performance that I have ever seen put the film. Here, yeah, it is that impressive. That impressive, and yeah, it's just a beautiful movie, and I think the ending gets way too much hate. I think the ending completely misunderstood. It's a brilliant ending that really makes Nolan just have other audiences brain fried. Yeah, brain fries. Like how Peter B. Parker said in Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah. Yeah, well, it sucks that I haven't reviewed this movie yet. I was supposed to, but I had no time. I didn't really know what to say yet, but I will eventually I'll get to review this movie. Maybe for its 9th anniversary this November. We'll see about that. And also speaking of which, yeah, we need more Nolan movies to be released on fall season. It can't always be in the summer. Yeah, always be in the summer. So yeah. And yeah, and this movie, I love how this movie came out on the same day as Big Hero 6, which is my favorite anime film of the year. As much as of that perspective here, as much as I love Disney and Big Hero 6, I think Interstellar is the better of the two movies that came out on the same day, in my opinion, yeah. So yeah, now I may sound like that I'm calling this my favorite Nolan film, but there's just one movie that really struck me even more than this, and yeah. And my number one favorite Christopher Nolan movie of all time is The Dark Knight Rises. I know you guys are shocked that one of the lesser well received Nolan movies is my favorite, but and I never really call this my favorite Nolan movie, not even in my initial review. But the more I think about this movie and reflect on it, the more I think this movie is the definitive Christopher Nolan to me. Yeah, I don't want to say too much because I already reviewed this movie in 50 minutes, nearly an hour. So I'll summarize my thoughts on this movie as brief as possible. What makes this my favorite Nolan movie is that this is probably the Nolan movie that I rewatch. I would personally go back to the most, and this one actually made the most impact out of me. As this. Just like Interstellar, this movie tackles such heavy themes and this time around it's about Bruce Wayne just rising from the fall to return as Batman, and you really get the greatest arc for Bruce Wayne. You get such epic you get such heavy beautiful performances, especially Christian Bale and even Michael Caine. How dare the Oscars snub Michael Caine for Best Supporting Actor? Out of all the Nolan movies Michael Caine appeared in, I think this one is his best and probably his best performance in general. And I absolutely love the characters. And Bane, while he doesn't live up to Joker, Bane feels like a real threat, and the stakes are raised even high. I find this to be a little more ambitious than The Dark Knight, which is why this movie is better, because unlike The Dark Knight, this movie just resonates with me more. From start to finish, this movie got my eyes glued to the screen, and I was never bored throughout. And yeah, and the ending of this movie is beautiful, and it really shed a tear in my eye, yeah, because of how beautiful it was. And I have no idea why this is considered to be the Nolan's worst films, or even the worst in the Dark Knight trilogy. I think this is the most underrated Christopher Nolan movie, and yeah, not only is this my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, but this is my favorite Batman movie ever made. and my favorite DC movie in general, and one of the greatest superhero movies ever made, period. And this is the best movie in 2012 was Sorry Skyfall. This is probably the most controversial placement in this ranking, but I don't care. The Dark Knight Rises is my number one favorite Christopher Nolan movie of all time, period. So as for my ranking of all Christopher Nolan movies, what is your ranking of his movies? Do you agree with me that The Dark Knight Rises is his best movie, or at least his most underrated? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for more videos to come. Bye guys.